As Gavin mentioned, I'm Doug Coe. I also came in through the Nimble storage acquisition. Very happy here now with HPE. And today I'll talk to you about Nimble Cloud Volumes. This was something that we announced, I think, just at the previous Tech Field Day. Back then, it was still in beta. Now we're actually in production. So, I'd like to give you guys a quick overview and update, and then Sandeep will run you through a demo very quickly. So, just a level set on kind of why we chose to develop Nimble Cloud Volumes and to enter the cloud storage market, which again, questions about infrastructure and cloud. How do we play into this? Nimble Cloud Volumes is a huge part of that strategy. One of the key areas is really to go and understand kind of where the applications are going, how they're migrating to the cloud, and then see kind of how we fit into this. So if I kind of look back historically, as you guys are probably well known, most of the original applications that first moved to the cloud were content-based, right? Whether web, mobile, social, documents, your Instagrams, your Office 365, your SharePoint, those were the first applications that started moving to the cloud. And you guys may also be aware that most of these applications typically use object storage, such as your S3s, your Glaciers, or your Azure Blobs. So that's one area that's done very well, mature cloud-native type applications or mature cloud applications. That's not an area we're focusing on with Nimble Cloud Volumes. The second stage of cloud migration or applications moving to the cloud really kind of came about 3 to 5 years ago, right, with the rise of big data analytics. So a lot of customers and a lot of enterprises are looking at ways to better centrally collect data, better analyze that data, and using cloud services for that has been a great use case. More recently, even the advent of AI, deep learning, machine learning has been applied. And actually a great example of that is actually something we've done ourselves here at Nimble, which is InfoSight Predictive Analytics. I won't steal their thunder, but that's another great example of an application being run in the cloud. The third stage of cloud migration, and this is really something that's just emerging, is really the area that we want to focus on in providing solutions for with Nimble Cloud Volumes. And that's really the migration of traditional enterprise and business applications. Your traditional ERPs, financial systems, supply chain systems, typically software systems that are backed by a traditional relational database, such as a SQL, Oracle, IBM type database system. However, when we started looking into what was available in the cloud today and how these type of applications may be served, we understood there were a lot of failures. A lot of people tried to what they call lift and shift these, and a lot of these projects failed. And when we kind of looked into that more deeply, what we saw was there was a real gap or chasm in terms of the type of services and the type of functionalities that these enterprise applications are looking for. And ultimately, the current cloud services don't deliver that enterprise-grade storage that these applications are looking. So let's kind of double-click into that to better understand what some of these challenges are. So as I said, a database typically, right, doesn't run on, say, a S3 or a Glacier. So if we look at what a traditional database runs on an on-prem world, as you guys may be aware, runs on a SAN, which typically provides block storage. So I want to double-click specifically on the block storage services that are in the cloud. That would be, say, AWS EBS, right, Elastic Block Storage, or Microsoft Azure Disks. When I look into those specifically, there's a few areas where they're of concern. The first area is around durability of features. Specifically, if we look at AWS EBS, they have a published failure rate of 1 in 500. So that means that if you're deploying your volumes there, there's a 1 in 500 chance you'll have data loss. And we actually have talked to customers that have experienced data loss in their production databases running in AWS. The second point is really a lack of data services and enterprise feature sets. It's difficult to back up data off block storage. It usually takes hours and it potentially slows down your VMs and your production volumes. It's difficult to share data between different hosts and instances. So if you're trying to cluster your application or high availability or share data, that's very difficult too. Even scalability. Up until recently, Azure Disks had a limit of 1 terabyte. in terms of their configurations. They've recently upped that, I think, to 4 terabytes, but still relatively small for people looking to deploy a large-scale enterprise database. Second point really comes down to lock-in. I think this has been talked about before, and whether you're on-prem or in the cloud, there's always some aspect of vendor lock-in that comes into play. However, a couple of things make lock-in in the cloud probably worse than other things. When you specifically look at data and storage, right, and the ability to move large amounts of data from different locations, whether it be on-prem to cloud or cloud to cloud, this concept of data gravity and having petabytes of data and trying to move that becomes a serious problem, and that's not easily solved today. The second point, again, which is very specific to cloud, is most of the cloud providers have a way to lock customers in through what they call data egress charges, right? So this is really a tax on customers that want to move their data back on-prem or move it to another cloud provider, and they typically charge 3 to 5 times as much, right, if you want to egress your data out of the cloud. Now, people love the cloud because you sign up for a service, pay as you go, and you get an SLA out of it, and it effectively acts like a black box, and you don't need to worry about whatever is going on in the back end. The problem with that is, as a black box, you really don't see what's going on the inside. And the biggest issue or challenge we've seen and heard from customers is because of that lack of visibility, there's a lot of issues around cost spiraling, right? One customer I've talked to, their bill went from $10,000 to $100,000 in 1 month, and they had no idea what was going on because of this lack of visibility. So kind of with these challenges in mind, we really decided to set forth and address these by introducing Nimble Cloud Volumes. As I mentioned, right, we announced this back in February in beta. It's been in production since May. So again, it's still a very new service, and we'll continue to roll out new capabilities into it. Now, Nimble Cloud Volumes is an enterprise-grade multi-cloud storage service for running your applications on AWS and Azure. Want to be very clear, right? It's a full-fledged pay-as-you-go cloud service. So it's run and operated by Nimble and built on our technology. But customers don't need to worry about the back end. Just like they don't need to worry about the back end of AWS, they don't need to worry about the back end of Azure, right? All they're doing is subscribing to this as a service. Now, what this allows them to do now is actually delineate their data and delineate their storage from their compute. So now they could store their data in the Nimble Cloud Volumes cloud and then run their compute instances on AWS and Azure. Now, to ensure low latency, high performance access, right? What we've done is, of course, ensure that our service and our data centers are in close proximity to where AWS and Azure are located.
So what does close proximity mean in your terms?
So low latency access that is on par or better than the native services. So in the cases of what we have deployed, it is single digit millisecond latency.
I'm assuming for how many regions?
So yes, so today we're deployed in 2 regions right now, US East, US West, that's in production, and again, we're looking to roll out into more regions today.
So is this is running on your own infrastructure?
Yes.
So it's a combination of software and hardware.
That's right. Yeah. But to a customer, it's a service. Right. So it's delivered as a service.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you're building a storage cloud close to AWS and Azure. VM in AWS or Azure would connect as if it was connecting to a SAN, the same on premises it would be a server connecting to a SAN. You're just now going to connect to Nimble Cloud Volumes, and the benefit is it's going to be better service than EBS or Microsoft's equivalent, and also you could have a VM in Amazon and in Azure talking to the same storage remotely, so you don't have to move data around.
Yes, those are correct. What I'll add is, and I'll talk about the different benefits on top of EBS and whatnot, but it's not just like connecting to SAN, because what we understand is even though people do run on-prem and expect SAN-type functionality and reliability, they don't want a SAN experience in the cloud. And that's kind of where we differ from some of our competitors which have deployed kind of virtual SANs or virtual arrays in the cloud. What we decided is we wanted to do a holistic cloud service that's very simple, where you can go in and just choose the number of gigabytes you want, the amount of performance you want, the SLA, and the deploy volume. And you'll see that in
So
sending.
how do you connect to it from the VM? Is it iSCSI or SMB or NFS or any of them or Block? Or
It'll be iSCSI, and you'll
Okay.
see in the demo how easy it is to.
so it's an iSCSI LAN internal to a VM, but to your Nimble Cloud.
That's right.
But I guess maybe I'm just kind of a couple steps removed from this. And if I wave my hands some more, it'll be even further removed. So this will be a competing product to what Amazon and Microsoft have.
It's
Right.
The way we see it, it's complementary because it's really closing a lot of gaps. Like for example, as I said, Azure, if you wanted anything more than a 1 terabyte volume up until a couple of months ago, it wasn't even possible. So we're creating a lot of the capabilities that are not in the cloud today.
But I guess where I'm going with this is, so I'm going to bring in a different HPE, ex-HPE product into the mix, but wasn't this already tried once to come up with a competing cloud product, not in storage specifically, by HPE? And if so, what did you learn from that experience that's going into this to prevent this with a different outcome?
Yeah.
I'd say it slightly differently. I think we're absolutely not trying to compete. We won't win that battle if we do that. We're not going to build a cheaper EBS than Amazon can. It's just not possible. So what we're doing instead is we're saying, okay, EBS addresses what most people want when they build block storage into EC2 compute, but there's a different tranche of customers that don't get what they want from EBS. The EBS is, as Doug was saying, it's missing certain features, doesn't have the same durability and so on. For that group of customers, that's who we're going at with Nimble Cloud Volumes. So there's actually, just as sort of endorsement of that, when we did the press release for this, Microsoft actually supported the press release. They have their own native block storage. They're seeing this as just another way customers can move to Azure. And so I think it's really, like I said, we're not trying to build what they have and do it cheaper or better. We're trying to build something different to what they have to fill a gap that's been left.
How do you get away from so we already mentioned that you pay for egress traffic from these clouds. Now I'm assuming I'm going to have egress traffic from my EC2 instances into my storage array because my storage is going to be someplace else, right?
Yeah, we could talk through some of the differences in that. So there are some additional charges that come through from AWS and Azure into writing into Nimble Cloud Volumes. It doesn't show up in the same level as your normal data egress charges because of the way the data is optimized and also because of the way that they have different tiers of how they charge, and the way we do it, right, is actually at a much lower tier. So what we've seen is it's approximately 20% to 30% tax. That's what I would call it, 20 to 30% tax. And our pricing, which I'll run you guys through, is in line with kind of what EBS and those guys are charging. So effectively, you're paying a 20 to 30% premium on a product, which you're going to get a lot more features. So let me just go and talk through some of the features and the differentiation versus EBS and Azure Disk. So the key thing, as I pointed out earlier, is really making a service that's enterprise grade, right? That has the reliability, has the durability, in our case, millions of times more durable, so the risk of data loss basically becomes negligible to customers. On top of that, we're providing some of the SAN-like capabilities from a data protection and copy management standpoint, so customers are able to do instant backups of their data rather than waiting hours to do backups and having that affect their production and backup windows. On top of that, with the copy data management capabilities, we have the ability to create instant clones, if not dozens or hundreds of clones, so you can easily spin up new instances and connect to those copies for, again, very kind of cloud-like use cases like test dev, bursting, right, where you want to spin up a lot of instances, have copies of data available, but we're able to do that not only instantly, but pretty much at zero incremental costs, because we're able to make thin clones and only charge the customers based on change data versus copies of the data. So again, in the bursting use case, this could be an excellent way to not only do it very quickly, but also save a lot of money. Mobility standpoint, that's a key area we believe we have a key differentiation on, right? Again, with EBS or with Azure Disk, there's really no way of talking to on-premise equipment. With Nimble Cloud Volumes, we want to make sure it's compatible with your on-premise. So you can easily on-ramp your data to the cloud. Because we're also providing a central repository between the different cloud providers, it's very easy now for you to have a multi-cloud strategy because you could easily select which cloud provider to connect your storage to rather than migrate data between storage providers. And then, again, from a lock-in standpoint, from our point of view, we don't believe in the data egress. So again, if you need to repatriate your data, right, from Nimble Cloud Volumes back on premise, right, we don't believe in any data egress charges there.
How about between your two, I don't know, do you call them regions? Like US East and US West?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're calling them regions. If you replicate between those two regions, is there a charge for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't actually announced replication between the regions yet. So yeah, that's still TBD, yeah, in terms of pricing for that.
What about the data protection and copy data management? Is that just all included as well?
Yeah, so we've included that as a feature set, and then they get charged. The way we do it is thin snapshots and thin clones. So they only get charged for the changed data, right? So again, it's the incremental only. So again, if you look at the way EBS does it, it takes a full copy, compresses it, and puts it into S3, and you get charged for that as an S3 bucket. Right? Again, in Nimble Cloud Volumes, you're only paying for the changes.
And so just to be clear, so is that cheaper then, or what does that mean that it's spelled like that?
Yeah, ultimately what we see is, depending on how your backup policies are, you will see savings from a backup and snapshot standpoint. Again, if you're making copies and clones, you'll see a savings there as well too. So it's not just the cost per gig, but it's also the cost per gig of how effectively we're storing that data. Because again, we're leveraging some of the Nimble efficiencies and applying that to the cloud, which today, they're not providing.
Are you only charging for use, like the amount of storage space you're using, or are you charging for some additional features? Like if I want cloning, I'm going to have to pay for that. If I want replication, I have to pay for that. If I want.
No, it's based on the storage space, so we're not charging per feature. Yeah.
Storage space and IOPS.
Yeah, storage space and IOPS. And I'll go through the pricing model. Last point is global visibility. Again, I won't steal all the thunder of the InfoSight guys, but effectively we're taking InfoSight predictive analytics, marrying that with Nimble Cloud Volumes to provide global visibility, right? So customers can now see what's going on in their cloud environment, what's going on in their on-prem environment, and again, manage between the two. From a cloud visibility standpoint, right, we're going to actually provide estimates and predictions of their costs. You'll see that in the demo. So again, customers don't get surprises about their cloud usage and how much they're spending.
What quick question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Real quick. So for the cloud volumes, is that only for additional volumes beyond the OS partition or the volume, or is that, can you boot an Omni straight from cloud
Yeah,
volume?
so the OS boot volumes are kind of restricted from a cloud perspective, so AWS and Azure kind of
So it's only for like
that.
data volumes
That's right.
or something like that? Okay.
That's right.
What's the tool that's used for that visibility? Is it specific to the storage system,
So
or is it something broader like OneView?
yeah, so today we have the Nimble Cloud Volumes
That
portal,
was an either or.
and then we also have InfoSight, right? And then there is OneView, so there are definitely things that we're looking at as part of the Nimble portfolio is rolling up into the HPE portfolio, and OneView is definitely one of those right now. But what you'll see today is of Nimble Cloud Volumes and InfoSight.
So it's okay. So it'll be a specific tool for that.
Yes.
What about creating additional volumes from a snapshot? Is that easy to do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think you're going to show that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So, really a couple of things I want to sum up before I pass it on to Sandeep here. Again, Calvin mentioned hybrid IT, and absolutely, right? We believe Nimble Cloud Volumes is foundational to hybrid IT. And when you take Nimble Cloud Volumes in combination with our flash arrays, which by essence, we have made all of them compatible with Nimble Cloud Volumes. So every flash array you purchase today, whether it be our all flash arrays, our secondary flash arrays, or hybrid flash arrays, are cloud ready. So they're compatible to move and talk to data, or move data into Nimble Cloud Volumes and back. So what we really believe is it allows customers to have that investment protection for their on-premise investments, to know that those are always going to be cloud ready, whether they're ready to move right now into the cloud or they want to move it into the future.
Your cloud volumes data centers, do you have any availability for the data centers as well? Like AWS will have availability zones, so they have multiple data centers within a region. Is this going to be similar, or do I have a single data center that's going to house my storage all of a sudden?
Yeah, those are things we're definitely looking at. Today we're at per location, a single data center, but we are looking at how we could build out obviously more resiliency, availability across zone, intrazone, and across zones as well too.
Okay.
Just to clarify, the data that gets stored is still on the Nimble arrays themselves, which are of availability greater than 6 nines today and protected by 100 different ways. It's only like a lightning strike or a big flood that just wipes away the whole data center.
Right. Yep.
Sorry, just to play a bit of devil's advocate, if you don't mind. The premise of this is that EBS volumes and Microsoft's equivalent aren't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, surely that kind of storage is going to be good enough. Durability is going to get better, latency is going to get better. Some of those enterprise features, particularly I would think from Microsoft, would get better. Surely that must concern you, or what would you say to people who ask?
I've thought about this before myself personally, and the way I see both AWS and Microsoft in terms of their investments are at higher level services, right? I mean, they're going after IoT, Alexa APIs. So storage is to us is low-hanging fruit. To them, I think from a block storage standpoint, again, I don't know because I haven't got the roadmap, but at least what I see in terms of all the new services are rolling out, they want people to get tied into the APIs. They don't, from a storage standpoint, if you're looking at a traditional application, a lift and shift strategy, that's not really something that they're looking to address.
So you're definitely targeting lifting and shifting an enterprise who's concerned about the durability of EBS. They're going to lift and shift what they're going to do. But isn't that also going to be a declining market as people start to refactor their apps and move towards native S3 or native other services?
Yeah, I mean, the refactoring is absolutely something that's going to happen, and AWS and Azure are banking on that. I think there are still more opportunities in play for hybrid as well, right? Because again, not all of that can sit directly in the cloud. Some of it needs to sit on the edge. Some of it needs to sit on-prem. So I think there are still opportunities.
So it's not just
you still get a set of data manageability features when it's on Nimble Cloud Volumes that you may never ever get on.
So the advantage is not just the fact that you're connecting EBS and Azure, but the fact that you can move data now between on-prem and into Cloud Volumes back and forth. Even though it's a very traditional setup, you've got that hybrid connectivity.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, I thought you said you can't repatriatize the data back.
Yeah, you can.
You can. Okay.
That's the whole point, right? Is the true hybrid IT to be able to move back and forth.
Essentially, all the data, either on your premise or in the Cloud Volumes, are all on Nimble storage platforms, and we can replicate data back and forth as much as we want to those without.
I think this is
like we do today. It's no different.
What we have seen is basically this is helping many of our enterprise customers now consider some of the cloud options. They still get the cloud agility. They still get the cloud pay-as-you-go model, and they don't have to tear down their applications and drop, block, and go to S3, and drop your standard databases and go to DynamoDB or whatnot. So it helps them with a quick cloud move and gives them all the abilities that they used to on-prem.
So I just want to end with a slide on the pricing, and then I'll pass it on to Sandeep for a demo so you guys actually see the inner workings. Again, very, very simple, very transparent, by the way. We're not treating this like an enterprise SAN sale, right? So all this pricing here you see, right, is posted on our website, just like for AWS and Azure. Really two simple options, right? You have a premium flash option and a general purpose flash option. The main difference is premium, you're going to get the highest SLA in terms of performance, and then with general purpose, you're going to get the best value starting at 10 cents per gig per month. The way we price it out, right, there's a cost per gigabyte per month and a cost per IOP per month, and that's it, right? So again, very simple for customers to understand, very much in line with how AWS prices EBS in terms of what they call their provision IOPS offering. They do have some lower end offerings that this doesn't really come into play, so this is more in line with their kind of mid-range and higher offerings for block storage.
So with the IOPS, if I don't buy what I need, I hit a ceiling? And that's all I get, right? I'm capped, as opposed to like, is it burstable?
It's capped right now, but you could go in, Sandeep will show you, you just go in through the GUI, couple clicks, and you can bump up the IOPS anytime you need to.
How about an API?
That's on the way too. So yeah, it's really that simple, right? I'm going to pass it on to Sandeep, but customers just go to cloud.nimblestorage.com, sign up, log in, and start using Nimble Cloud Volumes. Takes a few clicks, and they're up and running. So I'll pass it on to Sandeep so he could actually show you guys.